Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Rebel Crow Psychic Show with your host, Athena Silver. Tonight, we have an awesome guest, a great author who has written a really awesome book all about the fantastic 50s and the precursor to the psychedelic 60s. It is definitely and not an interview you're going to want to miss, so stick with us. Welcome back. Let's get started. I want to introduce you all to Thomas Hatsis, who wrote LSD, The Wonder Child, all about the years of study and research leading up to what we all know as the psychedelic 60s. We're so happy to have you on the show today, Tom. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate you having me on.
I want to ask you now, going into talking about the spiritual psychic aspects of LSD and how the government studied it. If you could speak a bit about some of the projects that were linked up to MKUltra in the fields of like ESP and psychic abilities.
So with that stuff, I'm not like, as far as what the CIA was doing with it, it depends really, because we don't, let me see how I can say this. We're not 100% sure who the CIA was funding. Like, there were many independent doctors that were getting funded. We know about some of them and others not so much. One of them that we don't know if they were funding was a guy named Andrei Puharich. He was doing the ESP tests and all the psychic ability tests. And it's one of these odd things where it's like, if you ask one person, that person will say, Puharich was working independently. Whereas if you ask another, they'll say, well, he was working at Edgewood Arsenal, and we know that the CIA had a foothold with MKUltra in Edgewood, so he was probably working with the CIA. We don't know. We really don't.
Do you think all that kicked off like the Stargate program and some of those deeper studies as they got into like the 70s and 80s?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Stargate program.
It was, I forget who headed it, but it was a big program that really got its start in like the 70s. And it was studying remote viewing and how to weaponize it for the government to spy.
Oh, sure. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know. I would sound very ignorant if I got to write a book on the 1970s. I'll put it that way.
All right. I definitely want to read it.
Once I write that book, we'll talk about disco and Stargate projects and cocaine and
I'm all in for it.
Yeah, but I really don't know much about that.
Well, I was just wondering because to me, reading it, I'm like, oh, I can see there's a missing link here. This might be connected.
Oh, it very well could be.
Because I'm a psychic medium myself, and I noticed that when I've had experiences with psychedelics, it definitely affects my spiritual gifts. I'm able to see way more than I normally would.
I'm so glad, because I always like to ask intuitives and sensitives and stuff, like, if that's the case, if you have. So can I ask you a quick question?
Absolutely.
How did you notice? Because I'm fascinated by this. And you know, I end my book saying that we should be exploring these areas. I don't think we should ignore this stuff. What, like, when you have these abilities naturally, how does something like LSD or mushrooms or anything, or ayahuasca, whatever your medicine of choice, how does it does something different happen where it's like almost like this new room I'll let you tell me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it depends on the substance, I've noticed.
I'm gonna get all Maria Sabina. Hold on.
Some bring up certain parts of it. Cannabis has always been my plant of choice. I know that I've been that plant at one point or another. I'm planning to be buried with it.
I never thought of that.
I am able to feel and perceive like very subtle things, very subtle changes, a whole lot more amplified than if I'm completely on my own here. I use it primarily when I'm trying to kind of astral journey travel, where I'm stepping out and my soul is shifting into other realms and other places, as well as inner work. With LSD in particular, I noticed that my visual center is like more developed, and I'm able to switch between my eyes and my psychic eyes over top of it. So I'm able to perceive both at the same time.
Wow.
Now,
It's like Ikate, but like with 2 instead of 3.
yeah, and I'm able to merge it. But the problem is switching between the both, I get switched whether I want to or not. So sometimes I'll see what's directly in front of me, and sometimes I'll see the visions that they play over top of it. Sometimes I'm able to control where I go, and sometimes they're just like, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And it's kind of like, whoa, okay. But I noticed that my visual, my seeing ability is a lot more crisp, clear, and vibrant. Like the colors are very vibrant, and I notice I'm able to see further past my normal range.
Okay, so I do a podcast with another fellow where we talk about it's completely just dedicated to spiritual mystical side of
Awesome.
medicines. Would love to have you on. We'll talk about that, in emails or something, but we'd love
Send
to
me a day.
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be so cool.
I would love to.
Yeah.
But I've noticed it more in the way of like subtle gifts that I have that I don't always notice are there, that kind of feed into the other gifts. I'm able to kind of single them out, like what information is coming from where. I don't like to be in crowds when any of these substances, because then I start reading people's minds and it gets really like anxiety ridden and claustrophobic.
Yeah, it's too intense. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to hear about your shopping list. I don't care if the kids are bad today.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, don't cheat on your wife.
Yeah. Oh, that's a bad thought. You need to go to church, use some Jesus. But on any given day, when it's just me, I'm able to kind of keep everything at bay. I just noticed that when the substance is introduced, I'm getting like way more information coming from all areas.
Oh,
so
sure.
Kind of fun. And then when you add the spirits into that, it becomes a whole nother thing.
Oh, we're gonna have a deep talk about the spirits then, the entities.
Absolutely. Ancestors are my people. Those are the ones I work with the most.
Oh yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we gotta get you on. We gotta have you on then. No doubt. That's too cool.
All right. So here is another question for you.
Sorry to
Why do you feel that the government decided to schedule lists like LSD and other psychedelics? Was it due to it not being an effective mind control agent, or do you think it's a control mechanism to control the population, or why do you feel that it was put on a list?
I think that there was. I don't see this is a tough question because there's a lot of nuance. I'm not.
It's take your time.
It's a balance between not wanting to be a gatekeeper, but also wanting to keep people safe. And the truth is that certain people that have not properly processed their traumas or have other issues, they might not have the kind of experience that you or I have on mushrooms. They might not be talking to spirits and entities and ancestors. They might be experiencing their own private hell.
It's true.
You had, unfortunately, guys like Timothy Leary, who was just kind of, being very irresponsible with LSD. He tends to be lionized today. I don't think he was really all that. I think. What's that?
He really wasn't all that brilliant.
Well, he was brilliant. I would say he wasn't very. I don't think he was a hero. He was a womanizer. He absolutely used his power and position over people in sexual ways. We know he did this. He gave our government every reason to make these things illegal. It's like if anybody was like, well, why? All they had to do was say Timothy Leary, and everyone would be like, oh yeah, I can see that. I don't want to put all of this on Timothy Leary, and some people have kind of given me a little bit of hell for it, that I didn't get into other things that might have caused the fall of LSD studies. But the truth is, a lot of it was Timothy Leary. Like a lot of it had to do with him. people were using it irresponsibly. The hospitals were filling up with people having really adverse reactions. In a lot of Leary's own studies, like people would be dosed without their knowledge. If they were having a bad time, they would just remove them from the party and just leave them to suffer, whatever mental hellscape they were going through by themselves. That is all horrible protocol. All
dangerous,
very dangerous protocol. And instead of he could have been a voice of reason. Leary could have got up there and said, hey, everybody, we need to be careful with this. We need to be responsible with this. But he didn't. It was like throwing out candy, to eager, trick-or-treaters, it's just not, it wasn't, it should never been placed in Schedule 1. That's absurd.
Yeah.
But there did need to be something, not the hammer coming down that happened, but there did have to be something to protect people that were vulnerable, because there were a lot of vulnerable people having really adverse reactions. And just like with the CIA and, determining, well, those people don't count to society, they're lesser than us. I don't think anybody is that. And I don't think, if we would say that for those people that the CIA was torturing, then we should say that for the people that Leary was just willy-nilly giving LSD to.
I think they were also trying not to have another like Aleister Crowley on their hands. Somebody who's, out there dosing people doing satanic shit.
Could have been. There was also and this is kind of fuzzy as well, but the counterculture got kind of wrapped up with the anti-war movement as well.
Yeah.
And that kind of caused when it's very easy for a politician to make that association to your average, Joe Sixpack or Susie Housecoat that's scared of communists,
Oh, yeah.
Look, the two of them.
They're taking your kids.
Yeah, exactly. It's really easy to do that. So yeah, it's such a weird situation where it's like, I still haven't figured it out. Like, I really haven't. I've thought about it a lot. I've thought about it for 20 years and I still don't have a good answer to that as to why that happened.
Do you think all of that is going to hold us back from the next chapter of like LSD and mescaline studies, since all of it's starting to come back again?
I don't think it will. People today, 20-year-olds don't even have a memory of 9/11 happening.
That's true.
Let alone the 1960s. There's something kind of sad about all of that, but I don't know that. Everybody's just pretty much on their phone, and if it's not like fed to them directly, they're not going to search it out.
See, and I use my phone for the opposite. I'm like, tell me all the dirt that happened in the past.
I'm talking about I'm not talking about very intuitive, intelligent people like yourself. I'm talking about
the regular everyday people. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. People that are addicted to their phones and that don't, ever look away from it or anything. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation, though. I have a weird love-hate relationship with the digital age. So.
Oh, me too.
Yeah, I think it's destroying civilization, like completely annihilating civilization, slowly and in the most painful and awkward way possible. So.
Well, if you look at society, like before, say, the Industrial Revolution versus like now, people are really broken, in fundamental ways. Like they can't do normal tasks anymore, like going outside for a walk.
Well, yeah, because somebody, I forget who put it. This was absolutely brilliant. Somebody said, we have primate brains, medieval institutions, and futuristic technology. And it's like, yeah, everybody is struggling these days. And that's why, whenever, I say that whoever you meet today, anyone you meet, know that person is going through some fucking shit.
Absolutely.
Please keep in mind, because for all of civilization, we were here. And all of a sudden, boom, our technology was here. Our brains are still here, though.
Yep. And it shows with a lot of the fear-based laws that are in this country and in this world in general.
Yeah,
you
look what they
know.
just did in Texas, for Christ's sake. It's like, are you kidding me?
Oh, I
This is
know.
insane. And my band had a song called Texas because I loved it. I can't play the song anymore. It's a song about how much I love Texas.
You got to add to the end of the song. We love Texas, except their abortion laws.
Except women have a right to their fucking bodies, but we still love Texas. Like,
absolutely, it's scary out there, and it shows just how divided we really are, because it seems like, especially with the digital age, we're having the rise of psychedelic, seekers now, and they're only getting pigeonholed to this very small part of the internet, where it crosses more boundaries than that. It hits more demographics than just the seekers.
Sure. And I should say, I want to be fair, because I do know some Zoomers, kids in their early 20s that are psychonauts and are really cool and are really like, I know a bunch of them. So I feel like I didn't want to throw the entire generation under the bus. And I feel like how I said it kind of was doing that. And I just want to be clear that I didn't mean it to sound that way, just to be careful. I mean, like, look, when in my day, when I was your age, like, our big thing was AIDS. That's what they were scaring us with. It didn't mean everybody stopped having sex. It just meant we were conscientious and careful about it. So all to any Zoomer listening, you guys, like, literally the keys are in your hands. Like, my generation is hopefully laying the groundwork with the legalization of criminal so that you guys could take that ball and run with it. So I have a lot of hope with the Zoomer generation. I get upset when I see them just like this on their phone sometimes. And I just kind of want to, like, hey, there's a beautiful world out there. Like, please. Right. And those people those are not your friends. Go get some real goddamn friends that you smoke a joint with, you talk to. Like, those are actual friends that are going to be there for you. Like, that. And I'm worried that a lot of them don't have that they feel that these, strangers on the internet are their friends. It's like, no, are they going to be there when something bad? No, they're not. So
it's fan versus friend. Yeah.
What's that?
It's fan versus friend.
Exactly.
They can't decipher in between the two.
Yeah.
But on the same note, I feel like they are open-minded to bring and roll back some of these laws. Like,
absolutely.
Even the millennials, like, we're trying our best to, navigate both sides of the aisle. But it's like those Gen Z kids are really the ones that are going to take and roll back these laws and make it acceptable. Because I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen, in my youth.
And one thing that I do want to throw to the Zoomers, which I think is awesome, or the Gen Z kids, what I absolutely admire about them, their commitment to inclusiveness is beyond any generation that has ever come before, including our generation. They are the most inclusive. Everybody come in, let's all share, I love that about them. I think that's great.
I feel like, because it's like the boomers, the Gen X, they were they're like pillars of, like, authority and what the old system used to be. And it's like the millennials are coming in like, we're going to light this on fire. And we kind of clear everything out. And then I think it's like the Gen Z kids are the ones that are going to build it up in their image and make this world a whole different experience for the people after us. So I feel like they come in here with a really important spiritual job on this earth. And it's like, it's the rest of our jobs to kind of let them do their thing. It's not really our earth anymore.
Yeah. Well, Gen X, we were more, we don't care. Yeah. We weren't really, we had a completely different, I did see somebody posted something once on Facebook that I absolutely loved. It said something along the lines of, say what you will about Generation X, but our sneering distrust of everything turned out to be correct.
That is very true.
I was like, that one, I felt that one. I was like, oh.
Yep. It's like, I didn't want to say anything, but it touched. That little black part that used to be my heart.
Yeah, right. My little listening to Alice in Chains, 9 Inch Nails heart absolutely loved it.
Absolutely. But I think it's wonderful. Like, this book is coming out right when it needs to be read, right to the right audience. My last question for you is, why do we as a collective culture only remember Hoffman when it comes to this time in history? Like, why him?
Why do we only remember Hoffman?
Yeah, when it comes to the 50s, when it comes to psychedelic, origins, like it feels like we gloss over everyone else, but we remember him for some reason. Is it just because he made that famous bike ride, or
because he discovered LSD? I mean, I would say because the psychedelic renaissance begins with the discovery of LSD. Not psychedelia. Psychedelia, as I said, and I wrote
ancient
2 books about how far back it goes. But the rediscovery of it, and when I say rediscovery, I'm not even saying that it was so far in the past. I mean, like you mentioned Aleister Crowley earlier. I mean, he was Edwardian. He was doing this stuff maybe only 30 years or so, if even that, before the discovery of LSD. I mean, so it wasn't that long, but he was just more into the esoteric magical stuff, whereas with LSD, it spread everywhere. And I think another reason, to get back to your question, is because LSD is so remarkable. It is the only chemical we know about that is as effective as it is in microscopic amounts. And like when Hoffman took his first dose was 250 millionths of a gram. To give your listeners an idea of how big that is, take a pencil, dot a piece of paper, and then cut that dot in half. Half that dot is 250 millionths of a gram. That is all the LSD needed. And that is a strong dose. To most LSD today is like 100, or this is 250, like, wow. That's a lot. So I think that he's remembered for that reason. Obviously, Bicycle Day, you are correct about that. I actually recently did, I don't know if you know the YouTuber After School, but
no. Yes, I do. They do the graphic
the animation
stories.
He just did one for my book called The Secret History of LSD. And we get into I call it the most famous bike ride in history, because I'm pretty sure it was the most famous bike ride anyone ever took.
If you could send me a link, I'll link it in the description.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure everybody would love to check out what you got going.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's mostly it's just condensed of what we talked about. But what?
Yeah. So I have to ask, what is coming next for you? Are we getting another book? What's it going to be about? Any projects?
Oh my goodness. So many projects. A lot. So my partner and I have a psychedelics education and harm reduction organization called Sanctum Psychedelia. Sanctum with a P, so PSANCTUM. And if you want to visit us, it's sanctum.org. There we have the Psychedelic Library, which is where, to write my book, the LSD, The Wonder Child, I have boxes of almost every medical paper written on psychedelia from the late 1800s to the present day. And we're putting them all online, because when I was doing research, I would have loved to have had a database like this. So for those Gen X, that's me. For the Gen Z, the Zoomer kids, I want them to have this database so that they could really run with this. So we have that going on. We also have a vintage thrift store arm of Sanctum Psychedelia called Sanctum Thrift, where we proceeds from sales go towards expungement of cannabis records, or that's what we're working on right now. We haven't to it yet, but as I'm sure your listeners can agree, there's a cannabis dispensary on every block in my city, yet there are people sitting in prison for using cannabis, and that is just unbelievably ridiculous. So proceeds, we haven't got that set up, but we're working towards that. What we set up is we work with a group called PPOP, which is Portland People's Outreach Program, who they do clean needle exchanges and drug education, and also another education called FEAT, which collects money to give ayahuasca and ibogaine scholarships for people struggling with addiction. It's there's a houselessness crisis happening in America, and all of that, or not all, but a lot of that can be traced to addiction, trauma, PTSD, and ayahuasca and ibogaine, more so than any other medicine yet discovered, has proven remarkably successful in helping people get over these kinds of addictions that do eventually lead to broken families and houselessness. So we're trying to get to the the core. As for me, I am working on a book right now called The Mushroom Heretic and the Search for the Psychedelic Christ, which is
I'm in it all the way. I want to read that. That is another one of my niche topics I love. Is like mushroom use and Christianity.
Well, so this you might not like this book though, because I will be arguing against that whole idea.
Listen, I have heard both sides of the argument, and I can honestly say it's valid on both sides.
Okay.
You know, I'm willing to see what's up.
Okay. Well, we could do a whole other interview on that one, but
absolutely, I would love to speak to you about ayahuasca and ibogaine.
Oh,
because ayahuasca is another plant that I have an interest in.
Oh,
so it's on my trip list.
Oh, what?
But thank you for coming on and having this really awesome discussion about your book. Again, that's LSD, The Wonder Child. It's going to be available. Is it available now or is it out soon?
It's available now, and the audiobook got pushed back till I think it's October 19th, but it was supposed to be out like a month ago, and I don't know what's going on. It's not on me, it's on the publisher, but yeah, October 19th, the audiobook comes out. It's read by me.
Nice.
So I'm sorry that you'll have to hear my awful New York voice for like 12 hours. But
listen, it couldn't be worse than my New York voice.
No, honestly, it's been so pleasant talking to you. Like before, when you said, you said talk. And I was like, I haven't heard someone say talk in so long. Because everybody's used to talk. But I'm like, no, and honestly, it like warmed my heart to just hear like another like pure New York accent.
Of course. It's funny because anytime I go any place, I refer to it as being my cousin Vinny. So yes. Say coffee, say talk, say participate,
Yeah.
So I get it everywhere. So I'm happy to be the bridge back home.
I appreciate it. Yeah, like it's weird because Portland, like everybody, it's like, I'm like, hi, how you doing? Why are you yelling? I'm like, I just said hello. Like, I'm not yelling. People here are very sensitive.
What's the problem?
What's that?
It's like, I'm happy to meet you. What's the problem?
Yeah, exactly. What's the problem? Well, I'm a very kind of boisterous person, and people here are a little bit more subdued. It's, but it's
get thrown off.
Yeah, they do. But I love it. I love this city. Like, I absolutely love it here.
So it's funny that you bring up roller derby. My mom is on a roller derby team.
Really?
So when I saw it in your book, I was like, Mom, this dude loves roller derby. She's on a co-ed team.
Yeah. What? Do you know what team it is?
She was on the Hudson Valley Horrors.
Hudson Valley Horrors?
She used to be the Hudson Valley Horrors, but then she's on like the Thunderstorm or something like that now. I don't remember the name of that team, but it's a co-ed team.
What, do you know what her derby name is?
Yes, she's Cookies and MILF.
Cookies and MILF. I don't know that I know her, but I know Hudson Valley Horror. I have some friends that skated. I have mascotted. I was a derby mascot for many years. Actually, my first book was on roller derby. I think that we got into that was Penn Jersey. Never mind.
She probably knows people you know. She
probably knows who I am, actually. I was
probably
if she's ever heard of banana mascot.
I think so. She's been in the culture for like 10 years. So
then she would know. If you said to her that you interviewed Banana today, I would be very surprised if she didn't know what.
Spell it.
BANE-ANA. Actually, where's the
because I'll ask her and she probably does. But she's still friends with all of them, and she skates now with the co-ed team with the guys, and she's like in her 50s and she's a jammer.
Nice. Good for her.
So yeah, she's really petite. It's fun to watch her like go in between people and duck around. Like, she's really good.
That's awesome. It's good. Somebody knows, like, usually people, I'm like, this person's a jammer. Like, what's that? I'm like, they score the points.
Yeah, right. Oh, no, I was going to join, but I have 2 chronic illnesses, so I'm not able to. So I got to sit on the sidelines and cheer her on. But it's when I read in your book that you were teaching roller derby, I'm like, I called her up. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to interview another roller derby lover.
Yeah. I joined Derby in 2005. I've been in it for a long time. Yeah. I was.
Are you on a team now?
Not right now, because everything started blowing up with like just my career, and I didn't have time for it anymore. I miss it so much. And right now with coronavirus, there's no roller derby happening anyway. So that's why with my 501c3, we have all these things that are, going on. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to putting my skates back on. My good friend out here, I'm teaching him how to skate right now to just kind of like, just still be in it because I miss it so much. I miss, it's an amazing sport, and it does a lot for a lot of people. I'm looking forward to skating again.
It's really nice to see the community that's built up around it. Like, these people go hard for each other. Like, they love you like your family there.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool to see.
It is. It's a great sport. Just absolutely amazing people, and I'm so dying to get back on the track. Well, Cookies and Milk, that's a great name. I said hello and fuck yeah, and I love a high five and a hug and all that.
I'm sure she'll love that. But thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been an amazing conversation. Whenever you have another book coming out, please hit me up and let me know. I would love to have you on. Whenever you want to come on, you let me know.
Absolutely. Sure. And I really want to get you on our podcast to talk about your experiences. But like big time.
Absolutely. This is my life. I love to talk about it. I'm an open book. You can ask me whatever.
Well, that's it. You just checked all the boxes right there.
Sounds good. Cool. Well, for everyone, I am Athena Silver, your host. I'm a professional psychic medium, a minister, and a witch. For anyone who is looking to have a reading with me or to have one of my services, my website is readingswithathenasilver.com. My Instagram is @athena.silver, and my TikTok is @Athena_silver. And we will catch you guys not next week, but the week after that on YouTube and on all podcasting apps.